Hello, Tiny News Publishers. Kathy here. I'm going to continue walking you through how to get your ghost site set up. As always, just because there's a video doesn't mean we can't also have a chat. I always love to hear from you about how things are going. But the goal here is to help you sort of self-serve and walk you through some of those really common publisher questions to free up a little bit more time for some of the more uncommon issues that you might also encounter. All right, so with that, let's get going. And I've given you here my email, and of course, you can always Slack me, so reach out anytime you need something, okay? All right, so let's get started. We're going to look here at how to publish your first article. And then my next piece will be about how to sort of customize the layout and design of your site. I recommend, if possible, that you actually stand up a couple of articles, even if it's just an image and some lorem ipsum text, because it can be very hard to figure out what's going on with the site design when it's just empty. So always recommend you go ahead and get some of that posted. All right, so let's take a look at our slides here. So we're going to look at making our first article. We're going to look at authors, tags, and settings. And then we definitely want to make sure that we leave some time for taking a look at how cards work in Ghost. So switch screens here. Here we are. We are having a look at the Ghost panel. So remember, you go to whatever your site's URL is, and then you stick a /ghost on the end. So if you can see mine, that this analytics thing is just its default. But you know that you're in your back end if it's got your site, whatever you called it, .ghost.io, and then /ghost. If you're having trouble finding this, you just got to stick that /ghost on the end. Okay. And we're going to take a look at how to make posts today. The process for how to make pages is identical. So when I tell you later that you should probably make a page to put your terms and conditions on, you're going to click the page button and do the same process. But so for right now, let's go ahead and let's open up the posts. We're going to see here anything that we've already published. And Ghost has somewhat helpfully given you a coming soon news article. You don't have to keep this item. In fact, if you'd like to cause it to go away, right-clicking on an item in this view will give you an option to delete it or to unpublish it, which will make it a draft and cause it to disappear from your front end. You have lots of good and useful things that you can do here sort of in bulk. Okay. Over here on the right-hand side, we see if anybody has signed up on this article. If you're taking member signups in Ghost, you might want to know what's causing people to decide they should sign up. Great. So let's go ahead and let's make a post. So we're going to click New Post. All right. And now here we are. So it's going to start us out. It's going to prompt us for a post title. So we'll just give it a name like We Love Ghost. Okay. And then we always want to add a featured image to the post. There's a slot up here above the title for the featured image. Your first image should go there. This is going to be the image that shows up on social sharing. And if your theme uses a preview card, it's going to show up there too. So we always want to put something there, even if we're using a theme where we don't always see it because it'll show up some places. There are two options. Option number one, let me go back, I'm going too fast, is to click this little Unsplash logo. We have access to this whole image library, and so you may be able to choose something there. For bloggers, this is an amazing thing. For news publishers, yeah, maybe not. You got to think about, does it make sense that I'm using somebody else's image here or not? But it may be that there's context in which it is. But right here, we can click to add a featured image, and it's going to pop up and give us an opportunity to upload something. Like, I think I'll upload this one. And so it'll think for a second, and then it will upload it. It'll upload something. So it's Halloween, so bear with me here today. It might be a little silly. Okay. So we're going to put our featured image up there. We can optionally give that featured image a caption. That'll probably show on our published post when we go to that specific article. Whether or not you want to caption it, you should click this button and type in the alt text to make your content more accessible for people who might use screen readers. So this is a happy cartoon saying boo. Okay. So do set your alt text, and then if you'd like to set your caption as well, you can. I guess are so cute. There we go. Okay, so I gave this a title. Excuse me, I put an image in, I put a title in, and then I would begin writing my post. So this is where the content for my article is going to go. You can compose right in Ghost if you'd like to, um, but you may want to compose somewhere else as well, and that's totally fine. In general, copy paste into Ghost works pretty well. But before you commit to doing a 10,000 word article or something, you may want to make sure that it is pasting in the way you're expecting it to. Um, all right, so here we are. We can put some text in. So you might want to give that text some styling. So if you highlight it, you'll see this little menu pop up, and we have options to make the content bold or italics. Um, we can also have additional headers within our section. So I don't know I needed a plan for what my text was going to be today. Here's a subtitle of some sort. Okay, so let's put that on. And so we have access to a larger heading if we pick that larger H, and also to pick out, so we have some two levels of headings built in here in addition to our title. So if you're writing something long form, you may want to break it up by using some of these headers. Okay, so those are some good options there for us to use. Let's go ahead though, and let's take a look also at what's hiding under this plus menu. Okay, so the plus menu here controls and gives us access to all of these different cards that we can use. We will not be demonstrating all the cards because that would be slow and tedious, but in here, among other things, is if you would like to add an image, let's see here, we'll put another copy of my ghost. If you'd like to put an image down here within your text, you can do that, and you can adjust. It's not going to work very well for this image. This image is too small, but you can actually, I hope you can see, make the image wider. Again, if you upload a low resolution image, it's not going to stretch it way out of control, but so you can put images in. Um, you also might want to make a bookmark. Um, And so it will give you the opportunity here. It will give you a drop down that shows you your recent posts. You can also start typing. So if you just wanted to bookmark a post that you've written, you can just very quickly make this kind of nicely formatted link, but you can link to anything. And so I guess I should have said, you can click the plus button to get access to these, or on a blank line, you can just start typing and it will pull up what the name of that card is. So if you're more of a typer, less of a clicker, that can be a time saver. You can put any valid URL in here. It doesn't have to be something on your site. So we might link to my site. Notice that it does need to start with the HTTP or HTTPS. I need a www out in front because of the way I have my domain set up. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and type in what that domain is, what I want to bookmark here. And then Ghost will go and get some information for us about that content. So if you have some links you want to share, this can be one way to format it. So we looked at images, we looked at bookmarks. One of my very, very favorite cards here is actually the call to action card. It's sort of a weird name, but if you needed to incorporate some information about a sponsor, for example, this call to action can be really great. Everything here is editable. So if you don't want it to say sponsored, you want it to say something else, you can click it and change it. You can also make that top section go away. You've got a button, so you can put a link. It could be for your site or any URL you'd like to paste in. You can rename the button. Don't want a button, no problem. Um, and then we have these additional tabs. We have a design tab. Um, let's put an image in so we can see. We're just going to use Bugos today for everything. Okay, so you can put in a little bitty image on the side. Look how cute he is. Okay, or over in design, you can also, there's a bigger image option. I feel like this one may be a little too big for this slot. But so you have two different possible layouts plus a just don't put an image in option. You have some choices for what color would you like it to be. So lots of options here that we can work with. Um, and then the other thing we have that I really like is that we have this visibility tab that we can use. So if you'd like to send a message just to your public visitors, those are the people who are not registered, or just to the people who've signed up, you can toggle these on or off. So this card can be there for some people and not there for other people. I don't have this site set up connected to Stripe. If I did, we would also have an option to show it to people who are paid or not. So sometimes people will do no ads if you're a paid member of our site, and you can use this card to make the ads not appear for the people who are paid members. Or you can use this card to talk about what people will get if they sign up in a way that doesn't bother the people who are already signed up. So lots of good stuff. Um, I promise I'm not going to do all the cards, but I did also want to point out this super important card here, which is the preview line. Okay. This preview line lets you control who can read your content. And so I'm going to open the side menu that I need to talk more about in the middle, but I'm going to set this post access to members only. Okay. And that means since I have a preview line that you'll have to be a member to read this content. Shh, it's a secret. Many newsrooms have all of their content public, and that's totally fine. But some newsrooms have some content that requires you to be a subscriber to that newsroom, whether that's paid or just you've put in your email address and you have a free account with them. So that's something to be aware of. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look with the preview here, and we can actually see how this secret text down here that I put in below the preview line is going to work. Okay. So first off, let's go ahead and click preview. What we've been working in so far is the Ghost Editor. The Ghost Editor is going to look exactly the same no matter what theme you use, what customizations you have. It's just baked into Ghost and it doesn't change, okay? But how it's actually going to look when published may be a little bit different than what you're seeing in the editor. So we're going to click this preview button. And now we're seeing what's it going to look like with this specific theme on this website. Um, I have learned here that this current theme is not well suited to my adorable cartoon ghosts because he is just way too big. That might be a moment for me to stop and say, I need to use a different template for this kind of publication. But what we see here, we're now looking at what will free members see. Actually, let's go to public visitors. So public visitors, somebody not registered. We're still just previewing. And so notice here what happens. Here's all that content that we made before. And then it says, hey, this post is for subscribers only. If you're horrified by the hot pink, don't worry, you get to pick your own color. Hot pink is just the default. So don't panic about the pink. But so this is, remember, we had that preview line. We'll close out of our preview for a second. In the preview, or in the editor, we have this preview line here, right? And so we couldn't see when we previewed as a member of the public, the line about it being, shh, it's a secret. Let's go back to preview again. And now let's preview it as a member of the site, as a free member, somebody who's given us their email. Okay, and now you'll see that we just roll right into that content that's after the preview line. Okay, so good features to know about. I did not talk about all the cards, and I won't bore you with all of them, but there's a ton of stuff here, um, including if you wanted to embed a YouTube video or a Vimeo video or Spotify or SoundCloud. There's lots and lots of things here that are sort of set up to work with your content that you might already have. The other super important card I wanted to point out here is this HTML card. The HTML card gives you a place that you can put raw HTML. And I know you're like, I don't want to do raw HTML, Kathy. But the thing about this is that a lot of different providers will give you an embed code. So like Flickr will give you an embed code. Google Sheets, Google Forms will give you an embed code. It's a little piece of code that if you put it here, will then cause something interesting to happen on your website. So it's good to know about that HTML card, that if you have an embed code for something that's not listed in the plus menu, try it out here and then preview it to see what it's actually going to look like. And most of the time, you'll be pretty pleasantly surprised. All right. So I mentioned this side menu. So our default starter state, we don't see that side menu, but you do want to get it open at some point. And it's this little guy right here next to the publish button. Okay. And what does this show us? It's going to show us what our slug for our pages. That's like what's the last part of its URL. If you don't like what's here, you can change it. Do watch out if you change the title. Often Ghost will then attempt to update the URL that the post is going to be at. You generally don't want to do that once you've published a post. You could change the title, but maybe don't change the post URL because you'll potentially break some links by doing that. You can set the publish date. This is for if you need to set the publish date in the past. Maybe you copied over an older article and you want to put its original publication date on it. You would do it here. I'll show you in a minute how to schedule something for the future. That's not us right now. And then we have tags. Tags are like categories, okay? And we can use them that way. Ghost has made us a tag called news, but we can make any tags we want. So we might have a tag called cute ghosts. You can make your tags ahead of time, but you don't have to. You can just type in what you want your tag to be and then click add, okay? And so then it shows us what our tag is. We'll put both, we'll say this is both news and cute ghosts today. You can put multiple tags on your content if you'd like to, okay? I'm going to turn the post access back to public in order to make it available on the web to anybody who gets there, okay? And then I also recommend that you set your excerpt. Your excerpt is a little piece of preview text. And so this is a post about cute ghosts. Well, spelling is hard. About cute ghosts. Okay. Also down here, you can change the author. I don't think I don't have any other authors set up on my demo site, but it's sometimes the case that the person creating the article is not actually the person who should be listed as the author. And you would, assuming the author is already set up, you'd be able to select them here. You can also mark your post as featured. Some themes change how the post looks if it's featured or cause it to show up at the top. Some themes do basically nothing. It just varies. Okay. And then you've got some options here like metadata and so on that we don't need to worry about for our first post. But let's go ahead and let's hit publish. Okay. And if, by the way, if you get partway through this and you're like, I'm not ready to publish it, that's okay. Ghost is auto-saving. It says up here, draft saved. Or if you're ever wondering, I usually like to hit Control S just so that it can tell me that it saved my post and I really know that it's done it. Okay. So recommendations, put one or more tags on all your posts. And always before you hit publish, do hit preview and make sure you like what's happening. I'll do a later video about the newsletter, but just to point out, the way things look in email is slightly different. And before you send your post as an email, you should definitely preview the email and quite possibly send yourself a test email to make sure it's just right. Email's kind of special, but we're going to focus just on getting our content online. Notice in this theme that that excerpt that I set sort of shows up here as a subhead. Some themes do it, some themes don't. You can take a look at yours and learn what it does. All right, so let's hit publish if we're happy with what we have. And then we've got a few options. We have not published yet. You have to really mean it before you publish. So I wanted you to see here that we have options when we go to publish. Okay. And they're sort of hiding. It's just going to look like this, but this is actually a drop down. You can click it and you could choose publish and email, which means your content goes out as a newsletter and appears on your site. You could choose publish only, which means it just appears on your site. You could choose email only, which means it will be emailed, but there won't be any front end view of it. People coming to your website won't be able to see it. My options are grayed out for emailing right now because I don't have any members on my site. So if you're wondering why can't I email, it's because you don't have any members yet. Go get some members. Add yourself as a member. Okay. Um, if we had newsletters, we could choose here who specifically was going to get it, whether it was the paid members or the free members and so forth, and which newsletter would get it if we had multiples. And then here's where we can schedule a post. If you want it to be live immediately and to start going out by email right away, you leave it set to set it live now. If you'd like to schedule it for later, you click schedule it for later. And then you go ahead and fill in when you want that post to go out. Okay. Continue to final review. It'll tell you when is it going to happen. And then if you've made a mistake, you can click back, but otherwise you can go ahead and click publish. So we're going to do that, and it's going to say all set. Your post will be published. That's actually 10 minutes from now. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted it to be live right away. So let's go fix that. If you ever schedule a post and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, you can just click unschedule. So I'm going to unschedule it. That's going to put it back in draft mode. Now nobody has access. And now I'm going to click publish and I'm going to say right now so that it will immediately go live on my site. Okay. So let's go and see it on our site. So we're going to go to our front end site. That's our URL without the ghost. And here it is. Okay. And so this is just the theme I happen to be using right now. This is the default source theme, but you can see that in addition to the post that Ghost made for me, I also now have this new post that I made. Okay. That's our basic flow. That's how we get posts created as articles in Ghost. Okay. And I encourage you to go ahead and do some playing around, try out the different cards. If there's something you're wanting to do that I just can't figure out how to make Ghost do this, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am totally happy to help you figure out if you've hit a little tricky snag somewhere. I've got lots of good tricks. Okay. Um, if we want to create a page instead, our process is going to be very similar. We're going to click on Pages. Ghost has again given you one default page called About This Site. And before you go live, you will either want to unpublish this or edit it to actually make it yours because the default is just boilerplate. And we don't publish boilerplate. That's not what we're about. But everything here in the page editor is exactly the same as the post editor. The only difference about pages versus posts is that posts are going to show up on our site automatically in some way, while pages are not. And so we have to actually take some action to cause pages to appear. And typically what we'll do then is we'll add some links to them, like in our navigation bar. I'll make another video and show you how to set up your nav bar. In general, I recommend that you make posts for anything that's an article, a news story, an announcement, something that is sort of going to show up in sort of your news flow, or maybe your multiple flows of news, and that you use pages for things like an about page, a terms page, a policy page, those sorts of things. All right. I believe that is all I needed to tell you about. Just as a reminder, if you have questions, I'm always here for you. You can send me an email or just drop your question right in the tech support Slack. And I'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.